Ultimate human safety net.
It has to be.
Yeah.
Because here is the thing about AI. It can generate absolutely endless possibilities, but it has zero context for human life.
Right.
It does not know why it is designing something. It might give you a perfectly optimized park that mathematically hits all the targets, but it feels cold, sterile, and totally unwelcoming to an actual person.
It might be mathematically perfect, but emotionally dead.
Exactly. The source reminds us that the machine's output may or may not be in the context of what the designer actually intended. The human brain is the final filter. You are the one who has to look at the screen and say, technically this works, but actual humans won't want to sit on a bench facing a brick wall.
So the human becomes the guardian of intent. The machine handles the how, but the human owns the why.
That is a brilliant way to put it.
I want to get a bit more specific about what these AI tools are actually doing out in the real world, beyond just the planting charts. The source references a really comprehensive list by Fernberg and Chamberlain from 2023 that outlines specific applications. What is actually happening in the field right now?
It's a broad list. We already talked about design generation and evaluation. Then there's ecological modeling.
Which has to be huge for landscape architecture.
Massive. We are talking about highly complex simulations, how water flows in pools during a 100-year flood event, or how heat accumulates in a concrete urban plaza during August.
You can predict the future performance of the landscape before you even break ground.
That's the predictive analytics part of the list. Instead of a designer just guessing, I think this retaining wall will hold the soil, the simulation runs 1,000 scenarios and tells you, this specific wall has a 12% chance of failure in 10 years under heavy rain.
That is incredibly high-value information. But I have to say, there was one application on that Fernberg and Chamberlain list that felt very 2026 to me. Sentiment analysis and social media.
I had a feeling you would pick that one out.
I mean, come on. What does a landscape architect do with sentiment analysis? Are they using AI to analyze the tweets of the squirrels in the park?
Not squirrels, sadly, but people. This is actually about using AI to scrape massive amounts of social data. We're talking Instagram photos, captions, Google reviews, digital check-ins to understand how people genuinely feel about physical spaces.
Wait, so you can map abstract human emotions to physical locations?
Exactly. Imagine you are tasked with designing a new public square in a city center. In the old days, you would go stand in a similar square, watch people for a few hours, and guess I think people feel relaxed sitting near this fountain.
A total vibe check, basically.
Right. But with AI, you can analyze 50,000 data points from similar plazas all over the world. You can see empirically that people use words like calm and peaceful when there's a specific type of water feature, but they use words like noisy, stressful, or crowded when the benches are arranged in straight parallel lines.
That is wild. It's essentially quantifying the vibe.
It is, and it creates this incredible feedback loop that just did not exist before. It contributes to what the researchers call the development of knowledge systems. You aren't just designing on intuition anymore, you are designing on hard emotional evidence.
That is a moment where I feel like the partner label actually fits perfectly.
Yeah.
That is a superpower a human designer just doesn't have on their own. I cannot personally read 50,000 Instagram captions and find a pattern.
No, and you really wouldn't want to try.
Definitely not. So we have these amazing borderline magical tools. We can model ecology, we can predict floods, we can analyze human feelings from a photo. You would think every single design firm on the planet would be running this software 24/7. But the source suggests that is not happening.
No, it's not. Adoption is actually quite slow across the industry, and the source breaks out the heavy academic artillery to explain exactly why.
Oh boy, here come the acronyms. I saw this in the reading notes. TAM, UKU, DOI. It looks like alphabet soup.
It does look intimidating, but let's decode it, because it is actually really important for understanding why amazing technology often fails in the real world.
Okay, give me the highly abridged version. What is TAM?
TAM stands for the Technology Acceptance Model. It basically says that for a human being to adopt any new tool, two things must be true. Number one, perceived usefulness. Does this actually help me do my job better? And number two, perceived ease of use. Is it a massive pain in the neck to learn?
That seems pretty logical. If it's useful and easy, I'll use it.
It is logical, but here is the major problem with these new AI tools in landscape architecture. They are incredibly useful, so they score very high there, but they are often really, really hard to use. We are talking about cutting-edge tools that sometimes require actual coding knowledge, Python scripting, or a deep understanding of how machine learning algorithms function.
And most landscape architects went to design school to study plants and spatial theory, not computer science grad school.
Exactly. So the ease of use score plummets. And if a tool is too hard to learn, people just get frustrated and go right back to the old way of doing things.
And then, of course, you have the practical, everyday roadblocks,
Yeah,
the money.
always the money. The source specifically notes that financial allocation is a huge burden for these firms. AI software licenses are incredibly expensive, and training takes time. In a professional firm, time is billable hours.
Right. If your senior designer stops for 3 weeks to learn a new AI tool, you aren't billing clients for those 3 weeks.
Exactly. But there was one other roadblock mentioned that I thought was really insightful, and it's very specific to the construction and building world, the external ecosystem.
Yes, the don't go it alone problem.
Hmm.
Because a landscape architect isn't an island, right?
Right. They are just one part of a massive, messy, highly coordinated team. You have the lead architect, the civil engineer, the city planner, the construction contractor pouring the concrete.
It's a relay race.
It is a relay race. Now imagine the landscape architect adopts this cutting-edge AI software. They generate a complex, optimized, data-rich 3D model of the terrain. It is brilliant. But then they have to hand that design over to the contractor to actually build it.
And the contractor says, I don't have that software, just give me a flat PDF.
Exactly. If the contractor is using old tech, or if the civil engineer software cannot read your fancy AI file, you run into what the source calls coordination issues.
The chain breaks.
You lose familiarity. If the entire external ecosystem doesn't move forward together, being the only high-tech person in the room is actually a massive liability.
That is such a massive insight. It explains so much about why the broader construction industry feels so incredibly slow to change. It's not just about one person deciding to buy a faster laptop. It is about a whole interconnected industry having to agree to speak a new language at the exact same time.
Which is exactly why the source concludes that adoption isn't just about deleting the old technology, it is about integration. The new AI has to solve a real problem, like automating the tedious works, without breaking the workflow with the guy out on the site pouring the concrete.
It has to bridge the gap.
Precisely.
So let's bring this all together. We have gone on quite a journey today. We started with AI, meaning Adobe Illustrator, representing total manual human control.
And we have arrived at AI as a true partner, a complex system that thinks, simulates, and suggests.
We have seen the fundamental role of the designer shift right before our eyes. You aren't the one sweating over every single pencil stroke anymore. You are the one writing the creative prompt. You are the evaluator. You are looking at 10 distinct, fully realized options generated in a single minute and using your professional judgment to say, that one.
But we also learned that being an evaluator is actually much harder than it looks. You still need the deep expertise to understand the soil data, the flood ecology, and yes, even the sentiment of the people posting pictures on Instagram.
And on top of all that, you somehow have to convince the rest of the construction industry to play catch-up and use your files.
That might genuinely be the hardest part of all.
I want to leave everyone listening with a final provocative thought, something that has been nagging at me ever since we talked about the idea of the creative prompt.
Let's hear it.
If the source is right, and the primary skill of the future designer is asking the right question, writing the perfect prompt, are we actually training people correctly right now? We still train young designers to draw, to sketch, to build physical models out of cardboard. But if the machine does the drawing, maybe we should be training them in logic, in philosophy, in language.
Well, that is a phenomenal point. Are we still training artists, or should we be training interpreters of machine logic?
And here is the real question that keeps me up at night. If the AI provides the novel design, simply because I asked it a really, really good question, who actually owns the creativity? Is it me, the human person who asked, or is it the code that answered?
That is the billion-dollar legal and philosophical question of our era. And honestly, I do not think even the smartest algorithm has the answer to that one yet.
Definitely not. It is something to think about the next time you walk through a beautiful, well-designed park. Was this space designed by a human hand or a human choice? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Always a pleasure.
We will see you next time.